Um, I don't typically make, I don't even typically talk about serious subject matters. But I'm sure that everyone on the entire planet is very much aware of what's going on, specifically in the United States of America right now, considering all of the protesting and rioting. So, as you know, there has always been a Black Lives Matter movement. You know, ever since the killing of Trayvon Martin through police brutality, as it was several years ago, that really sparked the flame for the movement. And it kind of died down a little bit, but if you know about the George Floyd video and the George Floyd arrest and murdering, killing, then you know that it is what brought us to what we're at, what we are seeing, what we are dealing with today. Now, I am going to go ahead and say first and foremost that I will not agree with or support like rioting and looting, just because for obvious reasons it has negative impacts on more than the people that you're trying to get your message out to. Especially if it's the Targets and shops and Waffle Houses and AutoZones in your own neighborhood. And it's not just like, I'm not trying to belittle anyone's emotions, I'm not trying to belittle anyone's opinion. As a matter of fact, as you can obviously see, you're looking at me on this video, I am a African American black male living in the United States of America. Specifically, I live in Georgia, which, as you know, is a red state, a very conservative state, and very much like closed-minded area specifically, especially where I live. I don't live in any sort of like mostly black dominated communities. Most of the places that I live and have been living in are like very like, more specifically like Confederate flag toting areas. So it's definitely a big impact when it impacts me hard when I see anything that like is like remotely racist just because it like, I don't know, it brings like a sense of uncomfortability because of my geographic location. Now, I know that I'm kind of jumping all over the place. It's because I didn't make a plan and my mind is kind of going in about 15 different directions. But first and foremost, if you watched the George Floyd video, then there's no argument with what happened in it, because there were five if you count the one that was keeping everyone from stopping him. There were 4 police officers. There was the one whose last name starts with a C. I can't remember his name. I think it's Michael, but I remember his name. I remember what it looks like, but I don't know how to pronounce it. Like Shavin? Shavin? I don't know. He is the one who had his knee on the back of George's neck. And then there were 3 other officers holding the rest of George's body to the ground. And there was another officer who was keeping the civilians that were watching and trying to stop this from occurring from stopping Michael, from killing him. Because if you watch the video, you watch him struggle. You see his head moving back and forth and letting the police officers know, you're choking me, I cannot breathe, you're gonna kill me. What? Your entire job is based on supposedly being to serve and protect the civilians of the United States of America, or the state of which you preside in. So, I don't know if they're under arrest or not, they're still a civilian. So he's letting you know that you're killing him, he cannot breathe, and you're literally watching his face scrape across the concrete. So you know he's really in pain. He is literally writhing for his life in pain. So you sat there with a face that was completely unbothered and completely inhumane, and you killed him. The video is 10 minutes long. The video is 10 minutes long. If you watch the video, you watch him die. Like it's not complicated. It's not like it's not debatable. It's just it's really so sad to think about. And now I'm getting emotional because like I'm thinking about it. When I look at that video, I literally imagine, like, what if that was my dad? Like, what if that was my brother? What if that was me? And then a common argument that I've also like heard, I haven't heard someone say it to me, because I already stated that I typically try to stay away from this kind of subject matter, but typically an argument is there are more white people that get killed via like excessive force from the police than there are black people that get killed. You don't have to be a rocket scientist or a mathematician. If black people only make up 13% of the population of the United States of America, right? And we are the biggest minority group in the United States of America, then proportionally so, any statistic, no matter what, because there are more white people in general, let's hypothetically say 78%. 78% of the population is white. And then the 13% is the black, and then the rest is other, meaning Hispanic and Asian and all of that. So, obviously, there's going to be a disproportionate amount of anything in white people as opposed to all other races, because there's just that many more white people than there are of all other races. That's first of all. So, the fact that there's only 13%, but the number of people that are being black and killed by police officers is even, like, relevant because it's so high, is a problem. If it stands out, even though we only make up 13%, we shouldn't even be able to be compared to the amount of white people that die in arrest if people are just dying in arrest all the time. That's first of all. And second of all, why are you not angry? Are you not angry that police brutality is killing white people? Like, do you not? Like, the correlation doesn't make any sense. And the argument is stupid and doesn't also make any sense. But honestly, this is not like just a venting video. This is more like a plea, really. People need to wake up. If you're deaf, if you're blind, if you're choosing to be blind, then wake up. If you're choosing to not hear the chants, if you're choosing to not see the protests, if you're choosing to pretend that the racism, that the inequality doesn't exist, then wake up. It's not complicated. It's not visible either. It's very visible, very obvious, and very apparent. It has always been very apparent. But specifically speaking in terms of police brutality, there needs to be more than just justice. There needs to be political reform, societal reform, constitutional amendment. Personally, I believe that no matter what, an arrest is just an arrest. An arrest happens in the beginning of the entire justice system. You still have to be taken to the jail, given a court date, then brought to the court, and then tried for tried and convicted of an actual crime before anything is really ever like truly doted out to you as a punishment for what you did. So police officers that are killing people in an arrest are basically trying to make the decision presumptively way before it even is given a chance. The person, the civilian, the person who even committed a crime is given a chance to be proven guilty or not. You are not the trial, jury, and prosecutor. That's not your job. Your job is to serve and protect. And to serve and protect not based on the appearance of whoever it is you are here to protect. You are here to protect all of Americans, all of the human beings that preside in whatever your jurisdiction is. So it does not make any sort of sense for anyone to ever be dying in an arrest. If a law enforcement worker kills an arrest, this should be a constitutional amendment. If a law enforcement officer kills anyone of any race, color, age, or gender identification in an arrest, they are to be stripped of all their power, past, present, and future. So like, and if you were in the running for getting a promotion, receiving a higher ranking in your title, that is gone. Whatever your ranking is now is gone, and every bit of accomplishment that you have gotten up to this point will be relinquished from any sort of record. And you need to be charged at the federal level for murder. And that doesn't just include any sort of police officer that was in physical contact with the unintentional manslaughter of another human being, but that is talking about anyone who is an accomplice. When somebody robs a bank, but one's a getaway driver and one actually grabs the money, they both robbed the bank. If one police officer had his hand around the person's throat, but the other police officers held his limbs down so that he couldn't move, they all killed the man. Even the ones that weren't in physical contact, the ones that kept the crime from being stopped, they're all accomplices. They all should be charged the same. They all are murderers. It's not debatable. It's not questionable. It's not a gray area. It's very much black and white. It's one or the other. You don't kill, or you are sentenced to imprisonment for murder. It's simple. It's not difficult at all. And it's not just a call on black people. Because the statistic still stands that people are dying in an arrest. I don't even care about the fact that people are black, white, orange, yellow, dying. Whoever it is dying in an arrest. The fact that people are dying in an arrest does not make sense at all. There's an exponential difference in how many people that are of color that look like myself that are dying in an arrest. But in order to cut all that out, cut all of the dying, all of the killing in an arrest out. It shouldn't be, I didn't even know that there was such thing as qualified immunity, but it exists. I looked it up, and basically it's kind of a law that protects law enforcement workers if they accidentally commit a crime unintentionally while carrying out their duties as a law enforcer. They can be subject to qualified immunity, basically making something that they do that's not legal, legal. Which is why in the past, all the people that have been killing people of color, killing people in general in an arrest, have been getting away scot-free But that can no longer be a thing. Like, I don't understand. I honestly cannot believe that I learned about, like, the boycotting, the sit-ins, the Jim Crow laws, and all of the racial stigmas that, like, our direct ancestors had to deal with, even my grandmother. And it's now 2020. Why are we still having to protest for how Black Lives Matter? Why are we still having to protest about police brutality? Honestly, it's like fearful. It's very disheartening. It doesn't, there's no way that America is supposed to be the land of the free and the home of the brave if you are so scared of one person of color that you and 3 of your constituents have to pin him down after he is already handcuffed. You're that scared? Who's in control of the situation when there's 4 of you, 1 of him, and he's handcuffed? Like, there's no good explanation. Like, there's nothing. It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense. Every time I think of that man in that video, I think of my dad and my brother. It doesn't make sense. You cannot make it make sense. Mathematically and statistically, you can see racism in American society, and it doesn't make sense. It needs to be changed. Political reform, societal reform, constitutional amendment, all of it needs to be done now. I honestly like refuse to accept any sort of compromise in between. There's no justice without change, without reform. And I definitely understand that there are definitely probably older people, older white people. I'm not even going to try and sugarcoat anything. I guarantee there are older white people who are so conservative, so racist that you cannot change their mind. But I'm not asking you to change people who can't be changed mind. I'm asking you to change the laws that condone racism. Change the support system for racism. Not change it, destroy it, get rid of it. It doesn't make sense that Ahmaud Arbery had to be killed because someone thought he was a thief. There was a social experiment that I watched, and there was a white man running down the street like full speed. He was sprinting in the video with a TV in his hand. Not only did no one stop him, no one even looked in his direction. Now, I understand that that was not police brutality that condoned racist behavior or excessive force or aggressive behavior. That was just two people feeling like they could take the power of authority that law enforcement workers are supposed to have and take it into their own hands, which is ridiculous. There's no way that... I don't understand why some of the people in America feel so privileged. Like, they just feel like they are better than anyone. I don't understand. But it honestly, it needs to change. America as a whole needs to change. Laws that condone and don't condemn racist behavior need to change. And if you are someone who's watching this video somehow, but still choosing to not support the movement, not support the not supporting the movement and choosing to be blind to the very blatant racism that is present in American society, you are definitely the problem. There's no getting around that. There's no debating it. There's no fighting it. I do not condone, nor do I advocate being a rioter or a looter. Because some of the people that are looting aren't even people that are trying to loot or riot for the message. They're just looting because they already about to burn the store down, so let me just run in and grab the stuff that I wanted anyway. Looting is not good behavior. Rioting is not good behavior. Aggressive protesting, that's good behavior. And for all of the National Guardsmen and police officers that are marching and protesting with civilians to get our message across, I definitely, honestly, 110% appreciate every bit of effort that you're putting into this movement. But some of the police officers, law enforcement workers, National Guardsmen, they are using excessive force as we are protesting about law enforcement workers using excessive force. I saw a tweet the other day with this man who had his eye ruptured because they threw a canister of tear gas into a crowd of protesters and it hit him in the face, rupturing his eye. He's only going to have one eye now. We're protesting for a reason. By the way, this man was white. We're protesting for a reason. You need to find your reason to protest, because honestly, the reason for everyone is the same. Societal reform, political reform, constitutional amendment, we all need change. We all could benefit from the change. That's it. I cried in this video and that was never the plan. Honestly, this is ridiculous.